Have you ever stopped to think about how a massive industrial print shop somehow got shrunk down to fit right on your desk? Well, today we're diving into the incredible revolution that made it all possible. Desktop publishing. Let's get right into it.
You know, when you pick up a glossy magazine or a sharp-looking brochure and you just kind of marvel at how perfect it all looks, well, you're not alone. For the last few decades, the magic behind that professional polish has a name, and it's desktop publishing.
So, here's what we're going to cover. We'll kick things off with the basics of what DTP even is. Then we'll hop in a time machine back to the 80s to see how this whole thing started. After that, we'll peek inside the designer's digital toolbox, learn the language of the page itself, and wrap up with 4 simple rules that are basically the secret sauce behind every great design you've ever laid eyes on. All right, first things first, let's tackle the big question. What is desktop publishing really? I mean, what does it actually take to transform a totally blank page into a beautiful professional publication?
Okay, so what it really boils down to is this. DTP is simply the process of using a computer and some special software to mix text and images together. It's the thing that lets one person sitting at their desk design literally everything from a simple flyer to an entire book, controlling every single little detail.
But why does this matter so much? Well, because great design is really just great communication. It's not just about making things look pretty or professional. It's about making information clearer, more powerful, and easier to understand, whether it's on a piece of paper or on your screen.
And get this, before DTP, changing something like a font was a huge, complicated technical process. But this new software, it gave designers the incredible power to change typefaces as easily as changing shoes. All of a sudden, you could try out a dozen different looks for your text and graphics without any real cost. It was a brand new era of creative freedom.
And that incredible new freedom? Well, it kicked off a full-blown revolution. This wasn't just a small step forward. It was a giant leap that yanked the power of publishing away from big corporations and put it on, well, pretty much every desk.
And it all happened so fast, like a perfect storm of technology in the mid-80s. In 1984, the Apple Macintosh comes out with its game-changing graphical interface. That same year, HP gives us the LaserJet, making high-quality printing affordable. Then, in '85, Adobe's PostScript creates a universal language for printers and computers. And then, the final, crucial piece of the puzzle, Aldus PageMaker, the first real DTP app. In just a few short years, the entire world of design had been turned upside down.
Okay, so the computers and printers were finally there. But what software were people actually using to make all this magic happen? Let's crack open the designer's digital toolbox.
So a few big names pretty much took over the scene. You had Adobe, of course, a total giant with PageMaker and then later InDesign. For years, they were in this epic battle with another super popular program, QuarkXPress. And at the same time, you had programs like Corel Ventura and Microsoft Publisher, which brought these amazing design tools to an even wider audience. These programs were the engines that powered the whole revolution. But look, just having the right software is only half the story. To really become a master of the page, you've got to speak the language of design. And that language, it always starts with the very building blocks of words, typography. Generally, fonts fall into 2 big families, serif and sans serif. You can see on the right, serif fonts like Times New Roman have these little decorative strokes, some people call them feet, on the letters. They actually help guide your eye along when you're reading big blocks of text. On the left, you have sans serif fonts, like Arial. Sans literally means without, so no feet. They give you a really clean, modern look that works great for headlines. Next up is something called leading. This is just a fancy word for the vertical space between lines of text. It's a subtle thing, but it's so important. If you have too little space, the text feels all cramped and it's hard to read. Too much space, and the lines feel totally disconnected from each other. Finding that sweet spot is everything. And you can see it right here. Look at how just adjusting that space completely changes the feel of the paragraph. That little gap between the lines, that's leading. When you learn to control it, you can control the whole vibe of your page. So if leading is all about the vertical space, kerning is about the horizontal space, specifically the tiny little gaps between individual letters. The whole point is to make the spacing look optically even and natural, so no 2 letters look like they're weirdly hugging or drifting away from each other. Take a look. The top line shows some nice, normal, balanced kerning. But on the bottom line, the letters have been spread way out on purpose just for a stylistic effect.
So much of great design comes down to having control over these tiny but absolutely crucial details.
All right, we've got the tools, we've got the typography. Now it's time for the grand finale, the 4 fundamental principles that hold literally every single good design together. This is the secret code.
And luckily, they can be remembered with a super simple, if, a slightly cheeky acronym, CRAP. That stands for contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. Let's quickly break each one down.
First, we've got contrast. The main idea here is to avoid making elements on the page just kind of similar. If they're not the same, make them really different. Think a big, bold headline versus small body text, or a bright button on a dark background. DTP software gives you amazing control over size, weight, and color, so you can really guide the viewer's eye where you want it to go first.
Next is repetition. This is all about reusing certain visual elements, like a specific font for all your headings or a particular color, throughout the whole document. It creates this wonderful sense of unity and makes the whole thing look way more professional. This is where software features like style sheets are absolute lifesavers, letting you apply that repetition with just a single click.
Third on the list is alignment. Here's the rule. Nothing on your page should ever feel like it was just plopped down randomly. Every single element needs to have a visual connection to something else on the page. That's what all those grids and guides in your DTP software are for. They help you create an invisible structure that makes the final layout look organized and intentional.
And finally, we have proximity. This one's easy. It just means that you should group related things together visually. So an image and its caption should be nice and close to each other. By doing this, you reduce clutter and you make the information way easier for our brains to digest. It's really just the simple act of nudging things together, which DTP tools make completely effortless.
So it's really important to get this one last distinction. Graphic design is the creative part. It's the what and the why. Desktop publishing is the technical part. It's the how. It's the actual craft of using the software to bring that creative vision to life and get it ready for the world.
So there you have it. We've gone from the revolution of the 80s all the way to the core rules that guide every single layout you see. This incredible power, which was once locked away for specialists, is now available to pretty much everyone. So the only real question left is, now that you know the rules, what are you going to create?